yes, welcome back to another video, guys. Now, that's right, today we are here to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, the Disney Plus TV show, which of course happened. It finished about a week ago. I wanted to give it a good week so that my thoughts on the overall series could sink in, and so that on top of that, people had time to watch it. And of course, me and my friend Ryan, our podcast After the Movies, which just hit 100 episodes, our episode 99 was all about the Book of Boba Fett. So I wanted to let that sink in before I come on here on the channel and talk about it as well. And before we get started, if anyone hasn't seen it, be prepared. I am going to talk spoilers in this. I'm going to go episode by episode and then do an overall recap on the show, because this was a very weird show. So even before the show actually started, I thought the promotion for it was very strange. It wasn't really showing much, and the trailers and stuff weren't quite as gripping as I'd hoped. But inside, I was really looking forward to it still, nevertheless, because it's Boba Fett. He's never been a personal favourite character of mine, but he's one I've always wanted to see more of. And I think with The Mandalorian Season 2, his introduction into these live-action Star Wars shows, I think what they done really cool with him is, in the original trilogy, he just looked cool. All of the cool stuff that we've heard about Boba doing was sort of off in comics and video games. So it was really cool to actually see him on screen do some really cool stuff. And even though we see him do some cool stuff in the Clone Wars, he is a kid. It's animated as well. Don't get me wrong, there's no problem with that. But it was great in The Mandalorian Season 2 to see Boba Fett do some great action stuff in live action. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this show. Anyway, I'm going to scooch over here so that if you do want to skip on to certain episodes, you can see I'm going to put up little posters for each episode so you know where we're at. So episode 1, I come home from work like a madman this day. I was so excited to have a live action Star Wars show, because the last one was Mandalorian Season 2, which was, was it a year ago? Surely it wasn't a year. I mean, it might have been. I can't even remember. It was a good while ago. And I know we've had the Bad Batch since then, which was also very entertaining. And a couple of little Star Wars bits here and there. But it was great to have this episode. And I think when the episode aired, I liked it a lot more than I do now. I think this is a good episode. I think this is a very solid episode. I don't have any notes in front of me, so I apologise if I get like a couple things wrong. But this was directed by Robert Rodriguez. He does 3 episodes. He does this one, episode 3 and episode 7. Yeah, I think I just loved this one so much when it came out, because it's like, oh yes, back into Star Wars. Looking back on it, it's a fine episode. And I think when it aired, I said, this is just set up, I think, for what's going to come next. And I was completely fine with that. It's, it picked up right from where we left off with Boba's story. And then going back to flashback, seeing him get out the Sarlacc pit and get taken in by some Tusken Raiders. And yeah, I thought that was all really cool. I really loved seeing all that stuff. The present day stuff wasn't massively gripping in this episode, to say the least. But yeah, I just found this one, it was just set up for what's to come. However, what was to come was another 3 episodes of setup before we got on into the really cool stuff. So I think that's why my opinion has maybe weakened of this episode. But I still enjoyed this episode enough. Visually, it was fantastic. I think that what they do with the Star Wars TV shows over the Marvel ones is that I think the Star Wars ones genuinely look a lot better. I think the production just is so much grander, and I love it. So yeah, this episode here, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It didn't blow me away, but it was a decent opener, and I think that's as good as I can go with it. It was a decent opener. Episode 2 was a lot better. I thought that the opening of this one was awesome. Seeing the twin Hutts, whose names I haven't actually learnt their names yet. That we get introduced to 2 new Hutts. They're twins, brother and sister. I would have preferred them use another Hutt, one that we already knew, because we knew of a few Hutts from the Clone Wars era, which I'm sure a few of them are still rocking about out there. So I think it would have been cool to see one of them translate to live action. But they made some new ones. And I want to say, I love how they looked. They've got the Clone Wars sort of mouth. I thought the CGI on them was brilliant. and we get introduced to... Hang on. I have it here. We get introduced to our live-action black crustacean. Do you know what? I've heard them say his name in the show many times now, and I still can't pronounce it. Even when I was reading this comic, the Dr. Aphra one that he's in, I could never make out how to say his name in it. Black Crustaceans? Anyway, but, you know, we're introduced to him. Big Wookiee bounty hunter with awesome nunchuck, you know, sci-fi blaster puncher thingies. And he looked awesome. And it got me really excited because I was just thinking at this point, oh my god, anything's on the table. We could be seeing so many comic characters come into this and so many Clone Wars characters. And we get a couple, not quite as many as I was hoping for. But anyway, that was awesome. Unfortunately, that's it for the modern day stuff. They just sort of tease stuff. Then we go back into the past. But the past stuff was really good here with the Tusken Raiders. I was fully gripped into this story. I was so immersed in it. And yeah, I just thought that it was shot beautifully as well. The action sequences were great. And it's really cool because obviously the Tusken Raiders had a presence in the opening episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. But here it was just fun to connect with them even more. Some of the costume designs for them I thought were great. The stunt people behind them, like I think it was Brie Larson's stunt double who done like the lead female Tusken Raider. And I thought she was brilliant. So yeah, again, and we finally get to see the Pikes in live action take their masks off because we'd seen them come over to live action in Solo, but we finally get to see them take their mask off here because they didn't in Solo, and I thought they'd done a really good job with their design because bloody hell, it's a hard design to get right. So yeah, this episode I thought was a lot better. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. Then we have episode 3. This is this is an episode which I've never ever... This is weird because I've loved every episode of The Mandalorian. I really have. There have been some average ones, some fillery ones, but there's never been an episode that's borderline bad. And this is the first live-action Star Wars episode where I was like, that wasn't very good. Robert Rodriguez comes back for this one. I think with Robert Rodriguez is he's great at doing big action things. When it comes to slower stuff and lots of talking, I don't think he's a good choice at all. I think he sort of just got by with episode 1. The finale we'll get to. Here he really, really struggled. Now there were some good elements to this episode. The Rancor I thought looked great. I thought that was awesome. The flashback stuff was entertaining again. And then we have the weak stuff and this biker gang that got introduced. I hate them. Yeah, the characters themselves suck. They don't fit the Star Wars universe. Like there's a British guy who calls Boba like mate at one point, and I'm like, no, this doesn't fit Star Wars. It reminded me of when Finn said bastard in The Last Jedi. I'm like, no, this doesn't fit Star Wars. Like, to me, Star Wars is pure escapism. And, you know, I don't know. These are just things I didn't really think. I know it's such a petty thing, just saying like, all right, mate. But that doesn't fit the Star Wars universe in my mind. They looked cheap as hell. Like, the CGI on them was okay, I guess, but their bikes looked so bright and shiny, and it looked cheap. It didn't fit the environment of Tatooine either. If they'd said that this biker gang had just come from somewhere else, like they could have said anywhere, Christophsis, Coruscant, wherever. They could have said any like richer planet. They could have said, you know, they've just come from there. Like, okay, fine. But like, especially in the next episode, we see them in another flashback right at the start of episode 4. So it's like, oh, they've been on Tatooine for a while, but they just don't fit the environment. Also, I don't think the actors are that good. Like, I'll come back to that in the finale, but I just don't think the actors are that good for this biker gang. It seems like everything to do with this biker gang they got wrong. The acting isn't great. They don't fit their environment. They don't look good. My God, every action scene they're involved in is just nowhere near as cool as any other action scene. There's a chase at the end of this one. Oh my God, it was actually kind of laughable. So the mayor's kind of, he's a Twi'lek guy. I'm not sure what he is. The mayor's speaker, you know, he's the voice of the mayor, sort of drives off and have to chase him. Boba's got a jetpack. I'm like, Boba, please do something, Boba. This is your show, and so far you've just walked about taking your helmet off and talking to people. Please chase after them, Boba. But no, he sends his new biker gang after them, and the chase it's terrible. Like, they're going so slow, and then Boba jetpacks down right at the end, and I'm like, Boba, man, please do something. The fans have been waiting 40 plus years to see you do some action badass stuff. We got a tease of it in The Mandalorian. Please. Don't give your cool action moments to this group. And they're just, oh. Yeah, episode 3 was such a disappointment. I was sitting there and I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate it. It didn't annoy me like The Rise of Skywalker. It was just so disappointing. I give this episode a 5 out of 10. And we got episode 4. Episode 4, again, mostly focusing on flashbacks. Yeah. So, you know, it sort of filled in the blanks with Fennec, Boba and Fennec's relationship. So that was kind of interesting. I loved the bit with the Sarlacc, where Boba returns there, because he thinks that's where his armor is, and of course we get the proton bomb or something. I think, is it a proton bomb? That epic sound, and he kills the Sarlacc properly, and it's like, that was awesome. That was really cool. So that was all really cool, and I liked as well that the Black Crystal, I think I'm saying it right, actually got recruited properly, and they actually acknowledged, like, the rivalry between Wookiees and Trandoshians in that bit in the bar, which I thought was also really cool. Also, that's another thing I didn't mention from episode 3. The bit where Black Crystal runs off was hilarious. But anyway, and I remember thinking during episode 3, why didn't Boba recruit him? Like, it don't make sense to me, but they did recruit him in this one, so that was a little bit forgive them there. Yeah, and at the end of this episode, of course, we get a little tease about halfway through of Mando, but it was to do with an episode in season 1 of Mando. But then right at the end of this, you know, Boba's like, we got to get some recruits. And we hear that sweet Mandalorian theme, and it's like, oh, here we go. Mr. Din is on his way. So yeah, this was better, this episode. Again, it didn't blow me away, because once again, Boba wasn't really doing much. Even killing the Sarlacc, do we count that as Boba killing the Sarlacc, or was that Fennec killing the Sarlacc? Personally, if I was a big Boba Fett fan, like, I do like this show. It's really good, and especially when we get into the next 3 episodes, you'll discover that I really liked what happened in this show in the end. But if I was a big Boba Fett fan, I think I'd be disappointed, because one of the weakest things about the show is Boba Fett. But anyway, yeah, so at the end of this episode, they go, Boba's fully healed, he can fight properly. Which also didn't make loads of sense. Again, it sounds like I'm just complaining about the show. Because Boba's fighting a lot in Mando. So the excuse for the last 4 episodes is this, but he was alright before? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this episode here, though, it was good. It was still good, but just didn't really blow me away. I'll go 6.5 out of 10 on this one. Then we get to episode 5. This is the last 3 episodes, thankfully, are great. However, for episode 5 and 6, there's no Boba Fett in the Boba Fett show. This is what I mean. I feel bad for, like, because I'm like, my favourite Star Wars character is Obi-Wan, and he's finally getting his show. If he just isn't that cool in his own show and disappears for 2 episodes, I'll be furious. So I'm a little bit surprised that some Boba Fett fans are that okay with this show, because, as I said, if I was a big Boba Fett fan, I wouldn't be too happy with this one. But anyway, I was happy because I prefer Jin to Boba. So I was like, yes, here we go, he's back, Mando is back. And I gotta say, he looks so cool. Like the silver armor with the cape and the dark saber, my God, he looks so amazing. And this episode is full of prequel references. We get some references to the Vizsla family, of course, which goes way back past the prequels. But, of course, we're very familiar with pre-Vizsla from the Clone Wars. So there's lots of references to him. The Naboo starfighter, which is my favourite starfighter from Star Wars. I was so happy to see that. We get a little BD droid, I think is what they're called, from the Fallen Order game, which was great. We get to see the pod racing track. The barrier is still broken from where Anakin went up it, past Aura Singh. And it's just so many cool little references like that scattered throughout this episode, which I thought was just pure brilliance. It was also great to get off Tatooine for a bit, see another planet, even though I don't know what this planet's called, because I think this is new to Star Wars as well. It might be from a comic that I haven't read or something, I'm not 100% sure, but it reminded me of that another planet from Halo, actually, funny enough. Yeah, I thought that was cool. Also, Mando cutting himself with the Darksaber, I was like, that's awesome, because it's always sort of joked about when, people, like, I have a lightsaber, when people buy lightsabers and stuff, you always whack yourself with it. You never see anyone in Star Wars doing it, so it's cool to see that. Yeah, there was just so much going on in this episode that I absolutely adored. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything, because I don't really want to brush over anything, but I really did love this episode. I thought it was great. Bryce Dallas Howard should get a movie. She directed this one so well. And then at the end, no Boba Fett. Fennec shows up, and we get our little teaser of Grogu. And I was very much like, surely Grogu they're going to save for Mandalorian Season 3. I thought that, like, Mando going off to see Grogu would be like a flashback for Season 3 of Mando. I thought surely that we're going to get back to the Boba Fett show. But anyway, spoiler alert, we don't. Anyway, this episode here, I'm going to give an 8.5 out of 10 to. Yeah, I thought it was really, really, really good. Really good. So episode 6, once again, Boba Fett actually cameos in this one. You see him. He doesn't say anything, but you see him. But this episode is the bollocks. It's weird, because as a Boba Fett episode, it's actually not good at all. Because as I say, you don't even say anything. But this episode was so amazing. Like, from the word go, like, obviously we start off seeing the Marshal again, which I thought was a bit odd. I was like, why are we seeing him? But we'll come back to that, because he comes back later on in the episode. And then we go off to another planet where Luke is building his temple that we see in The Last Jedi. And my hype was through the roof. I was like, right, that's it. It's confirmed. We're going to see Grogu and Luke. And sure enough, we do. And it was pure joy. The CGI on Luke was incredible. Unbelievable, in fact. Grogu, again, it is so adorable. It was so cool to see him. Just to see them two training as well was, amazing. And then, R2's there as well. Pure joy just seeing him. And Ahsoka popping up. Oh, that caught me off guard as well. My mind was blown. I was like, what the hell's happening? There's just so much happening in this episode. And the episode just keeps going. Keeps giving you stuff like, say, like them two training. Mando going back to Tatooine. And, I say we get a cameo of Boba. And then, of course, the most hype moment of the episode for me, my second favourite after Ahsoka, my second favourite original Clone Wars character finally made his live-action debut. Mr. Cad Bane finally showed up, even though I think it's such a mistake he didn't show up near the start of this series, because one of the problems with this show is there wasn't really a clear villain threat. It was just sort of like the Pikes were lurking about. It would have felt so much better if we had like a sort of figure. And Cad Bane is perfect for that. He'd been hired by the Pikes. He shows up to the Marshal and guns him down. And I thought it was amazing. I thought the dialogue was so great. Cad Bane looked fantastic. His voice, well, they got the original voice acts from the Clone Wars and Bad Batch back. He sounds incredible. I've got no complaints. It was perfect. I was hyped beyond belief. I was jumping out of my chair screaming like a little fangirl, because I've been waiting, 10, 15 years to see a live-action Cad Bane? I was so excited. And in the end of the episode, of course, comes back to Luke. and Grogu. And I know that in the Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith comic, Yoda's lightsaber is burnt. But to be honest, I don't mind sometimes when little details of the comics and novels are made uncanon, because it was so worth it. Because Luke, you know, I don't know how. I don't really care how. He's got Yoda's lightsaber and he offers it to Grogu. And it was just to top it off. So yeah, this episode here, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I've got no complaints. As a Star Wars fan, it was really well made. Dave Filoni's brilliant. As a Clone Wars fan, it was so rewarding. Yeah, perfect episode for me. Episode 7, the finale. Okay, so I was worried about this episode because, you know, Boba Fett show, we're coming back to Boba Fett. Boba Fett has not impressed me in his own show so far. Robert Rodriguez is once again directing. This man has also not impressed me much. But it had a lot riding on it. It had these previous 2 episodes, which have been fantastic. So it opens up instantly with Grogu on Luke's ship, and R2's piloting it, and it drops him off on Tatooine. And I was instantly a little bit disappointed. I wanted to see a conversation between Luke, Grogu, and, you know, Dinge about, you know, why Grogu's made this decision and stuff. It felt... I wanted to see that. I really did. But anyway, we didn't get that. And of course, Grogu gets dropped off with the crazy hair lady on Tatooine, who I'm not sure on her name either, to be honest, off the top of my head. But she's a character that's really grown on me, actually. And then this huge epic battle between Boba and the Pikes is finally about to take place. And it's so funny because it opens up and, like, Boba's like, right, he's got 2 Gamorrean guards here. He's got his 2 or 3 bikers strolling about. And he's got Black Crustacean outside somewhere else. And it's like, Boba, you don't really have an army. I know you're relying on people of Freetown to show up, but you don't have them. It's not confirmed they're going to show up. So instantly I was a bit like, Boba, your plan sucks. And of course the Pikes sort of rock up. And yeah, the 2 poor Gamorrean guards don't last long. Black Crustacean's, you know, he's pretty much... I was really worried they were going to kill him. You know, but he was overrun quickly, and the biker gang were as useless as always. So yeah, once again, it looked like Bob was screwed pretty quick. You know, Cad Bane rocks up, and let's face it, Cad Bane's a much cooler bounty hunter. I'm sorry, Boba Fett fans, but we've actually seen Cad Bane do some stuff. That's the thing. And he's got a cool voice, and he's a freaking cowboy. Space cowboy. Awesome. Anyway. So, Boba and Jin come out on their jetpacks. I've got to say, this was awesome seeing those 2 fight. And I thought the action for this was really well done. And this is where Robert Rodriguez comes into frame as a good director for me. He's good at shooting big things, scope like that, big battles. The people of Freetown rock up. And yeah, the episode really picks up from there. The action's great. I could feel the sense that this was a big battle. This was a much bigger deal now that Boba did actually have some sort of army. And then we get these 2 big droids that show up that just look like, you know, updated big droidicas, which I thought was really cool. They used the ray shields. They got similar structuring and how they look. And I thought that was awesome. Fennec just sort of runs off for this episode. So it's all on Boba and Mando. But, you know, it was really good to see them 2 fighting side by side and trying to take down these robots. And I really liked how they did eventually take them down. Boba riding the Rancor, I gotta say, was awesome. It looked great. It reminded me proper of, like, King Kong going up, you know, the Empire State Building stuff. Thought it was awesome. The Rancor looked fantastic. You know, Mando with his Darksaber again. And Mando reuniting with Grogu was so adorable when Grogu jumped up and hugged him. I was so happy. Yeah, the episode was really great. The action was really well shot. As I say, the only things that I didn't really like too much were when it cut to the motorbike people, the biker gang, because, my God, the acting was terrible. And again, the guy, like, he does this weird thing where he's holding Cranston up at one point, and he does like a twirl and then like shoots. I'm like, what the hell is this? What am I watching? But yeah, it was really, really great. I thought it was a really fun episode, and it did sort of tie together the first 4 episodes with Mando's 2 episodes. I thought it sort of did put like a pin through those, linking them. Then we get the showdown with Boba and Cad Bane, and it was great. It was really awesome to see these two fight. Again, Cad Bane was so awesome. I love him. And after waiting 15 years to see a live-action Cad Bane come to the big screen, they or the small screen, whatever, they killed him in 1 episode. Look, the showdown was awesome, but I just wish they hadn't killed him. I feel like it was just such a waste. And again, I know that he could pop up in like Kenobi or something. He could pop up in anything before, and I'm sure he will pop up in like Bad Batch again, like the animated stuff. But I was just so disappointed. Like, if Mando's going to go on for however many seasons, he could have popped up for a couple episodes of that again. If they do another season of Boba, he could have popped up again. But now he's dead. Even though some people think he's alive, but I'm pretty confident he's dead, which is such a shame. So yeah, wasn't too impressed with that either. But anyway, that's pretty much Boba Fett. Yeah, the finale, of course, then Mando and Grogu go off season 3 of Mandalorian, which I'm hoping will be better. And Boba then sort of starts going, well, what do we do now? Why have we done this? It's like, well, Boba, shouldn't you know this is your show? Anyway, I'll give the finale still an 8.5. I know that I've done a bit of complaining, but it was overall a really fun, energetic episode, and there was lots of really great moments to it. Just a few questionable ones as well. Overall, for Boba Fett, it was a good show. There's, I think some people have been a bit too harsh on it. I think where this show goes wrong is because there's a lot of really good stuff, and I think the only episode that's kind of naff is episode 3. I think where this show goes wrong is it had 4 episodes where it was building up to this battle, and it wasn't doing it brilliantly because, as I say, it didn't really have a head figure for the enemy team. It was just like, it's just the Pikes. It was building up for a battle with the Pikes, but it wasn't building up Boba's team very well, and then it went off to give fans 2 episodes of Mandalorian, because it's basically what it was, and then it tried to tie it all together at the end. So I think it's just very messy in terms of plot structuring, but and for me, another really disappointing thing is Boba was only badass in the last episode. I really wanted to see Boba be badass for the whole thing. However, this show had some truly epic moments. It had one of the best TV episodes I've ever seen, ever. Like, episode 6 was incredible. But I don't want to give it too high of a score because there are some amazing things in here. Because at the end of the day, some of the things I don't like are to do with the main character and the show overall. I think if they do a second season, I hope they just have like a clear plot instead of, we'll do this, then we'll do this, and then we'll just try and tie it all together here. I hope they go, right, beginning, middle, end. Actually structure their show a bit better. And I just hope they make Boba better, because I'm still waiting to get this incredible bounty hunter. I really love Boba Fett as a character, I do, but I want to see him be, really badass. And I'm just, again, I feel like I've got to go to Legends. The Star Wars Legends stuff to see that. Because, even in the comics that have come out, he hasn't been brilliant in the canon stuff. So, anyway. Overall, I'm going to give Boba Fett a 7.5 out of 10. As I say, it's good. It's not bad. There's nothing bad here. I don't think. It's a very enjoyable show. It just could have been a lot better. I hope if they do a season 2, it is better. But anyway, there we go. There's my review of the Book of Boba Fett. Guys, what did you think? It's Star Wars. I'm always going to enjoy it, unless it's Rise of Skywalker. But, hey, this one just fell a little bit short of expectations. But Kenobi's next, the big one. So, yes, let's hope that's better. I'm sure it will be. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.